It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Wilson Saunders from Kaseya IT Glue. You're not gluing yourself to the road, are you, or anything like that? Good. And he's the account executive for EMEA in IT Glue and Kaseya. He's going to talk about boosting efficiency with the right technical stack.
Absolutely.
Fascinating.
Thanks very much for the introduction. Hi everyone, can everyone hear me okay, first of all? Cool. I've always said they don't make microphones tall enough, so that's good. My name is Wilson Saunders. I'm one of the account executives in EMEA for IT Glue and Kaseya. For those of you that might not have heard of Kaseya, we were founded in the year 2000, first of all as just a remote monitoring solution, and one of the first to the market in that regard. Since then, grown exponentially, partly through organic innovation, creating Kaseya BMS, which is a ticketing business management solution, but also a lot through acquisition as well, one of those being IT Glue, which is where I came into the fold, but also businesses like Rapid Fire Tools, which offer network and security auditing and automated reporting on that, dark web monitoring for credentials that may be compromised, phishing training, amongst a lot of other different solutions as well, 28 in total. The whole ideology behind this is trying to create essentially a one-stop shop for any multifunctional IT worker, giving them all the products that they need to do their job on a day-to-day basis, and also removing a lot of the space between them via contextual workflow integrations. Now, IT Glue is one of our success stories here, and it's in part what I'm going to show you today. So IT Glue is a best-in-class documentation solution, actually built out of necessity from within an MSP over in Vancouver in Canada. So this business from day one experienced some very fast, aggressive growth, and their tool set struggled to really scale and grow with them. That's in part because the business was set up by 2 or 3 really senior engineers, which brought on all of the customers that they had, all of the solutions that they used to support those customers, and also all the documentation that went along with that. The problem was that documentation was very inconsistent, in a lot of cases quite tribal knowledge living in their heads, and often exited the business whenever these people left the business as well. So they started to wonder what if rather than being off sick or on holiday or somewhere else, these people actually left the business entirely. That information was going to completely leave with them, and ultimately it was a massive point of failure for that business. So they built a tool for internal use at the time, which enabled them to consolidate all of that information down into one simple, secure central unit, and make that information readily accessible to anyone as and when they need it. And this is what you can see on the screen here. So this is your IT Glue dashboard. This is the screen that you and anyone else will see when they first log into the platform. The platform itself is organizational based, and by this we mean that there's a separate site or separate area within the platform for any of the customers that you manage, or if you're an internal environment, all the different locations that you manage as well. So if I jump into Happy Frog here, this is an example of a demo organization. So on the front page here, you can have some quick notes and any alert messages which might be important to know at a first glance of that location. And on the left-hand side is how we've really set out the platform. It's in 3 main parts, which we call pillars of documentation. So the first of these is your core assets, essentially base data, bits of information that are likely to exist across all the different locations or businesses that you manage on a day-to-day basis. Then we have what we call flexible assets. This is essentially a set of templates, some built by us, but you can build your own as well, based on the services that you provide every single day. And the purpose of these is to provide you with that real standardization, because they're built off of templates. They'll look and feel exactly the same across every organization that you manage, therefore essentially enforcing a structure on how you want this information to be captured, but also a blanket knowledge across all of your team as well, because they can access the same information at the same velocity. And then finally we have your procedural element, which is just the documentation element. So all your procedural notes, KB articles, how-to guides would live in there. So I'm going to start by jumping into our configuration section. This is relatively simple. In here you'd house anything that has an IP address. And if I just pop into this device here, you can see how the information looks at the asset level. Now this is really going towards what this talk is all about, essentially building an integrated tool set. So we've got IT Glue here, which is our hub, as it were, but we've got a lot of tools that are working really well with this to populate it with contextual information. So you can see a lot of detail on the device itself, some configuration interface detail, also some RMM info, which has been overlaid into the asset itself. And then at the bottom here, you can see where that data is coming from. Part of this is from Network Glue, which is a tool I'll take you through momentarily. But here you can see Kaseya BMS, which is our ticketing system, and also Kaseya VSA, which is our remote monitoring tool. And then finally, Unitrends MSP, which is a backup provider. They are also here today and doing a presentation later. But on here, for BMS and Kaseya, you can see a Manage button, so I can go directly onto this device, into my ticketing system if I'd like to view a ticket history and maybe make any changes if I need to. And this Live Connect button here actually gives me the ability to jump straight into my remote monitoring tool onto that device and actually remote in, make changes, solve problems if I need to. If I want to just work from within IT Glue, I can view any agent procedures that are running on that particular device and actually execute them within IT Glue and monitor the status of those as well. Now on the right-hand side is where a lot of the power comes from IT Glue, via our related items. So you can create two-way contextual relationships between any of your assets within the platform. The purpose of this is to give you and anyone else a complete picture of just one area of infrastructure in this single pane of glass that we have here. Now we've got a couple of ways of managing passwords in the platform as well. Again, very contextual, which are embedded and general passwords. Here we've got an example of an embedded password. These are just fixed to the actual asset themselves, which means that they inherit the security settings that exist at the asset level. You can set these as granular, as broad as you like. I can set it just for the specific asset here on either a group or individual user level. Your general passwords are a little bit more flexible. They have their own asset records within IT Glue and therefore their own security permissions. Now staying on the topic of security, we've got a feature that works extremely well for our passwords here, which is called our password at-risk report. This is most useful for when someone actually leaves your business, which isn't that nice to think about, but these things do happen from time to time. This will generate a list of passwords that one particular user has accessed, and the passwords on this list will not have changed since that user last accessed them. So if you're worried about any malicious intent after someone leaves your business, or if you just want to do your due diligence from a security perspective, then only changing the passwords on this list means that you're not doing any more work than you absolutely have to do. If you want to view this information at a bit of a broader level, we do have our activity logs as well. So everything that anyone does in the platform is fully audited. This information is always kept and is never ever deleted either. So if I actually reverse the date order on this page here, if it wants to load for me, I don't know if you guys have had trouble with the free Wi-Fi, I definitely have. You can see the first time this platform was actually logged into all the way back in 2019. Perfect. So I'm going to jump back into Happy Frog now quickly and show you that Network Glue tool that I mentioned earlier. So Network Glue is it's a network discovery and network mapping tool for devices actually in your IT Glue platform. It's very easy to set up. All you need to do is tie a collector key to a collector and deploy that to a Windows machine. And this will do a full network discovery via ping, broadcast, WMI, and SNMP, and populate that data into a contextual network diagram within your IT Glue. So if I click on one of the devices here, you can see that it is intelligent. This is the device we were looking at earlier. And it's got all the information that we had at the asset level actually on the right-hand side here. And I can still execute any of those procedures, jump into those different tools via those tight workflow integrations that we have within the platform. There's a few different ways of viewing this data as well to make it more contextual. You can group the information by type. You can actually view this data in a tree view as well if you'd like to. I think the cluster view is a bit nicer. And also, if you're relatively au fait with the actual site itself, you can search by name or type. If I just wanted to view all printers that are on this network map, I can do so very easily like that, and that grays out everything except what I'm looking for. Now, just one final piece I want to show you is around domain and SSL management. I know that's a problem that a lot of our partners did have before using IT Glue. That process is almost fully automated within the platform. The only part that isn't is this, you're actually typing out the domain. You don't have to type out all of them. You can import a much longer list of these into the platform. But what this does is via our native integration with Whois, the platform automatically goes out and pulls all the DNS records for any domain that you put into the platform. Also previews the web page, and most importantly grabs the expiry date for that domain. Now if there's a publicly available SSL certificate as well, it will grab that information, automatically populate that into your IT Glue, again with the expiry date, and automatically create one of those related items back to the domain itself. So a really good way to automate this information coming into the platform. But we have a way to be essentially automated on when you need to know these are expiring. It's called workflows. So this is automated alerts out of IT Glue based on different triggers within it. These triggers are anything moving towards expiry, any document or password being created or updated, or any password being accessed as well. So I've got a quick example of one here. For any domain that moves to within 30 days of expiry, IT Glue will automatically create and send an email to me to notify me that this domain is going to expire. Now these lead times are configurable, anywhere from 1 to 180 days, and these actions are configurable as well. It can be emailed to a distribution list, or we can post messages in Slack and Teams as well. So the whole purpose of IT Glue and the entire Kaseya tech stack really is to eliminate a lot of inefficiency that exists with your processes today and essentially bring your entire tool set together in one tightly integrated unit. Now a lot of that is time saving, so I'd love to give you some time back. I think I finished 5 minutes early, so if you do want to have a little look at the platform in a bit more detail, we're situated just at the back of the room over there, and we'd love to speak to you later today. Thanks for listening.